Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Real Talk Season 6, Episode 3. I'm your host, Kelsey, here with Haley and Sierra. On this day in history, Uranus was discovered in 1781. Today also marks 5 years since K-12 schools' 2-week extended spring break. So glad we're out of that reality. Speaking of reality, whether you're a fan of it or not, reality TV is everywhere these days. I feel like there's a new dating show every other week. These series often portray a lot of dramatics and toxicity. How do these stereotypes play out and impact viewers? Let's talk about that. All right. I feel like you want to take it away.
I do, honestly. So I didn't really watch a lot of reality TV coming to college. Like I watched like Amazing Race like here and there, like with my mom and my grandma, and a couple other like Netflix reality TV shows like Too Hot to Handle, which I know you were saying that you do like that. So we can talk about that in a little bit. But I never really watched like The Bachelor, Love is Island, none of that stuff, but my roommates loved it, so then I started watching it, and now I'm kind of like hooked on it a little bit, so that's kind of crazy because I never thought I would say that. But reality TV, I feel it often relies on exaggerated personalities and drama to attract viewers. Like, Sierra, what do you think about reality TV?
Only reality TV like I think I watched was probably The Bachelor when I was younger. Like my mom would make me translate it for her. She'd be like, "What are they saying?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like I don't want to do this again." But so that kind of like scarred like reality for me. But I think that it definitely does like make people think like they like producers like fabricate like
I agree with that
100%. So yeah.
Yeah, I always wonder how much of their interactions are actually like
Genuine.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that because I've seen interviews with, especially with The Bachelor, how a lot of it is dramatized and dramatized just to make the story go longer. Like, for example, this season of The Bachelor is not that good. Like, Joey's season last season was really good. And like I said, don't really watch reality TV. Now I do. But this season, not good. A lot of the girls are just there for the plot and for the drama. Someone literally quoted, "This girl said this off screen." You don't say that unless you know reality TV and you've watched reality TV before, I feel like.
Yeah, that kind of makes like defeats the purpose, like creating the image that like this is happening, and then you kind of like go against that. It's like, well, why are you really here? You know?
Yeah, and of course, like everyone looks perfect.
Oh yeah, they never have a bad hair day. Makeup always on point. There's never a pimple. Like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
Never have anything wrong with their face or their appearance. Always look picture perfect.
Crying a lot though.
Oh, tears for days. 4 days.
Yeah.
But I also feel that certain reality TV has a certain stigma around it. Like, for example, if you're on Love is Blind, which is on Netflix, which my roommate and I are watching the new season, versus Love Island, the girls and the guys, very different people, very different stereotypes. Just the way that they dress, the way they act, the way that they are, very different.
Like from show to show, you mean?
Yeah, just in general, like reality TV is such a broad spectrum.
Yeah.
You go from Amazing Race where you're traveling around the world, then you're going to crying on television about some boy who just fucked another girl for like the 20th time.
No, literally, it's like, it belittles their worth so much. I feel
yes,
like
I
they
agree.
come on being introduced, at least for the very little I know about dating shows, except for Too Hot to Handle, my guilty pleasure. But they come on and they introduce them with like their little job description at like the lower thirds with
Public
them.
relations.
Yeah, but it's like, other than that, it's like, we didn't get a one-on-one date, and I feel like you don't really like me anymore.
That was this girl on this season of The Bachelor, Carolina.
Yeah,
Villain.
I did watch one episode with my friend Sarah.
Villain.
Yeah.
She was insane. I'm telling you. She went on a one-on-one date with this guy, with Grant, The Bachelor, earlier, and then she wasn't getting one-on-one time, and she was having a bitch fit about it, and all the girls were saying how you had one-on-one time with him. Make the best out of a bad situation. I don't know. Like, I'm not on these shows. I'm just here.
We're on Real Talk.
Yes.
Yeah, but like how long are they like in that situation? Like are they there for like a month, or like are they recording for how long? Because like how can you have like all these like feelings? I don't know, me personally, I don't think I'd be that attached to a guy.
I think it's 2 to 3 months for The Bachelor, I know. And also they started doing like, The Golden Bachelor too, and then The Bachelorette and the whole thing. But I know for The Bachelor, it's 2 to 3 months, give or take, and then they're engaged, but then they have to go into hiding because the public can't find out that they're together because they film it a year before it actually airs.
A year?
So they have to go into hiding. and obviously people see spoilers, they see them out in public, whatever. But then they're engaged for like 2 to 3 years or so, even a little bit longer, because you don't really know the person. You're dating 25 other women. You don't really know who he fully is. You're not spending every single waking moment together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's so much pressure to like be like, okay, put a ring on it in 3 months.
Yeah,
like
that's crazy.
That's insane.
Could never do that.
So interesting. I didn't realize it was like that long, like a year in advance
Yeah,
and then
I
hiding.
didn't realize
Yeah,
either.
I
thought it
didn't
was
know
just
that.
happening in real time. Like Love Island happens in real time. Like they are in that villa. They don't know anything. They have no social media, no contact to family. It's just them, the random people that they met 2 weeks ago, and then they're sleeping next to a random guy that they met, which is also another problem. I can never do that, first of all. And then they're trying to find love, but how can you find love in a villa with no support system?
Right.
So all they're doing is crying the entire time.
Right. Yeah, I know. I know with Too Hot to Handle, there are 10 episodes in a season. I don't know what the time frame is though. So I've always wondered, because the thing I like about Too Hot to Handle is that there's actually some sort of like psychological character development.
Well, that's how I kind of feel about Love is Blind. Is love truly blind? And you get crazy people, but they're all from the same area, so it's not just random people from random parts of the world. They are from, like, for example, this season they're from Minnesota. Like a bunch, I think it's Minnesota. They're from that area. So they all kind of maybe have heard each other or know of each other, but it's not super realistic when they go back into the real world. But they do have to get engaged after 10 days of talking to each other in a pod, blindfolded.
Which is crazy.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
I could never.
Oh, me either.
Like-
Absolutely not.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Damn.
So,
Reality TV loves its stereotypes, but real life is shaped by women who break them. And since it's Women's History Month, let's recognize its importance now. Hey Real Talk, March is Women's History Month, and International Women's Day was 5 days ago on the 8th. Today we're going to talk about how Women's History Month came about and how our rights are being affected today. Women's History Month started with educators in Santa Rosa, California, who first celebrated Women's History Week in March 1978 to increase awareness of women's contributions to society. Organizers selected a week in early March to correspond with International Women's Day on March 8th. Over the next several years, other cities across the country joined Santa Rosa in celebrating Women's History Week. In 1980, U.S. President Jimmy Carter declared the week of March 8th National Women's History Week. The week-long event officially became the whole month in 1987 when Congress passed a resolution designating March as Women's History Month. We can't possibly list all the milestones in women's history, but some highlights start in the 1920s when white women were allowed to vote. It wouldn't be until 1924 for Native American women, 1952 for Asian American women, or 1965 for Black American women. In 1944, the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps were formed by the U.S. Army. In 1963, the Equal Pay Act was passed prohibiting pay discrimination based on sex. In 1969, the first no-fault divorce law was adopted by California. In 1973, Supreme Court ruling in Roe v. Wade made abortion legal, which we can touch on shortly. And in 2021, Kamala Harris became the first Black and Asian woman vice president. Women's rights have been under attack across multiple fronts under Trump's past and current administrations. The overturning of Roe v. Wade in 2022 has stripped away federal abortion protections, allowing states to implement restrictive abortion bans and threaten access to birth control, with some even attempting to criminalize women seeking abortions. I actually went to both a Women's March on Washington in 2017 and a Roe v. Wade protest in June 2022. Bittersweet moments of power and coming together, but wishing it wasn't needed. Meanwhile, International Women's Day was quietly removed from Apple and Google calendars, symbolizing a broader cultural erasure of women's achievements. Sexual assault survivors continue to face victim blaming and a justice system that rarely holds perpetrators accountable, further perpetuating a culture of science and impunity. Meanwhile, the grim reality of The Handmaid's Tale seems closer to reality than fiction, as laws restricting abortion, policing women's reproductive choices, and discussions about tracking menstrual cycles signal a growing effort to control women's bodies. These attacks are part of a larger systemic push to strip away women's autonomy and erase hard-won rights reminding us that the fight for equality is far from over. I recognize Women's History Month and the struggles of those that came before me in hopes that one day my future daughter will read about it in her history books but not write about it in her memoir. This Women's History Month, I'm honoring my mom and all the women that came before me to make me the woman that I am today. How are you going to recognize Women's History Month this year? We've come a long way in terms of women's rights, but we still have a lot of obstacles to overcome, including the rise of so-called podcast bros spewing toxic ideologies. But tonight, we're taking the mic back from them to unpack the baggage that they can't seem to. So, podcast bros.
Oh, it's like an epidemic. It's bad.
No, it really is.
I feel like it's the new midlife crisis.
That's a good way to put it. I know people say like you need to have a license to purchase a podcast microphone because it's gotten out of hand. Like there's 700 podcasts and like a lot of them are like men and perpetuating like negative stereotypes about women.
Absolutely.
But I think we gotta chill back. Like if we think that our ideas are like radical and don't apply to like the general public, let's really think about what we're talking about, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that statement, honestly. I don't know much about like podcast bros, but I do know that it's a lot of toxic masculinity and toxic bro culture, and just the way that they spew their information isn't always 100% accurate. And I feel like if you are on a podcast talking on a public platform, you should have kind of a general knowledge of what's going on, not just in the world, but just a general sense of who you're talking to, who your audience is, who potentially could be watching, especially a lot of younger viewers who they only really know social media. That's all they really know about. And if they're stumbling upon Spotify and they find this and this is what they think is how everything's supposed to be, that could be an issue.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I also am not too well versed in the universe of the podcast bro, because why would I want to spend my energy in that world? But I do know that it's increasingly like conservative views with men, or men kind of transitioning into conservatism, whatever. Yeah. But there's this one guy, I think it's on the, he did things with like Jubilee or something.
Oh yes,
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. I forget his name too.
Yeah, but he looks like a jar of grease, and like
don't they all though?
Yeah,
don't
let's be so real. And he's like quite the Trumper. And,
Okay, that's all I'm gonna say for that one. But honestly, too, I feel like some of the examples that they have here is the Fresh and Fit podcast that they have, and it covers topics such as relationships, finance, politics, and gender dynamics. How interesting, considering we just talked about Women's History Month. Probably have a lot to say on that. And it's hosted by Walter Weeks and Myron Gaines, a very controversial, has very misogynistic talking points. So I think that is also a huge problem, because once again, I'm more looking at it at the angle of younger viewership, especially since I do want to work in the field of education. I'm going to have to be dealing with kids who are exposed to stuff that they don't really know fully about, and they're going to be coming into the classroom and saying, oh, look what I found online, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm going to have to handle it and take a good approach to it, and how to navigate that as a whole, I feel, is going to be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah. Right, because I feel like, I mean, you can listen to podcasts pretty much anywhere these days, but with Spotify, I don't know if there's like a kids profile
like a regular,
option.
kind of like how YouTube, you can put like a YouTube like presetting where it's only kids material, so you are blocked on a bunch of things. I know in the school they do that, or they at least try to regulate it so kids aren't looking up things that shouldn't be looked up on the internet.
Right, because like obviously nobody should be partaking in this toxic entertainment.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But especially finding it when you're so young and impressionable, it's just a bad look.
It's true. I've seen this on my like For You page before, and it's like they sit in this really crammed room. It's this guy, and he has like 12 girls around them, and it's like, girls, what are we doing? Like, he's literally talking bad about, like, women should be in the house and cooking and cleaning, and the men is on top. And they're, like, sitting here like, It's like, do you want the clout, or do you, like, not have any self-respect? Like, you have to choose, which one weighs more. And, like, I hope that they,
Is
like...
it for the views?
Is it
Like,
for the
what's
views?
going
Or, like, what
on?
do you really think? So I think it's just so mind-boggling. Like, what's going through his head? Like, does he really think this? Or is, like... This is like,
Do you not understand that you came from a woman?
yeah, I don't get the hatred that he has for, like, women, and I don't get the tolerance that the women have that sit in the room. Like, why are you sitting here listening to this man saying that you are worth nothing?
It's the internalized misogyny.
It's crazy. Why bother? Like, why? It gets me, like, a little heated because
I'm
like,
angry. It's like mad.
how low do you have to value yourself? And, like, why are you letting this man walk all over you? Like, especially it's women.
Speak up.
Month. Yeah, right? So, like, this is the time. This is not, in this day and age, disrespect should not be tolerated, you know, even at the expense of a couple of views or some people knowing your name.
Yeah.
Like, for sure.
Also, I think another thing too is when they get called out on it, I don't know if it's specifically for them, they're like, oh, it's not me, or, oh, I didn't do anything wrong. But you did.
Yeah.
But you blatantly did. You said something that's not even, like, it's out of left field. Like, completely wrong. And they don't take accountability for what they're saying on the internet. They just kind of spew it all over the place, say whatever they want to say without taking accountability for their actions.
It completely perpetuates the whole stereotype of boys will be boys.
No,
and like
that
locker
statement
room
bothers
talk.
me so
oh my
much.
god, me too.
What does that even mean? Boys will be boys. Genuinely.
Like no, like you couldn't tell me it has one definition. It's
no,
just like,
exactly. There's such a masculine, like, stigmatism around it when that's just a statement that
So,
actually has no meaning behind
it's
it.
just like, oh, it's in my nature to just like talk about women like this. What can I say? I'm
But
a
it's
dude.
not.
Yeah. It's not.
not.
It's really not. I don't know where. Like, how are we coming to this point that we are, like, disrespecting?
I saw this thing, and not that I'm supportive of anything Trump does in any way possible, but I saw this meme, and it was like, okay, so when the tariffs are coming out, are we putting the tariffs on podcast equipment for the guys too?
That's so funny.
And I was like, honestly, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's gotten out of hand. We need, like, some kind of, like, hello.
But I feel like it's not even just their podcast. It's just podcasts in general.
Yeah.
It's oversaturated. There's so many.
And the thing is they're oversaturated by the good ones. There are good podcasts out there.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to find them because it's overshadowed by everything else going on.
Yeah.
Everyone has the next big idea. And
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, take it, tuck it away, throw it in the ocean. But the toxic masculinity train has been going on way too long. Speaking of things that have been going on too long, let's switch gears to a history lesson that's actually worth listening to. St. Patrick's Day is more than just green beer and parades. Let's take a look at where it all started.
Hey everyone, my name is Haley, and today I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know about St. Patrick's Day, the history behind it, and what it's turned into today. So to start off, St. Patrick's Day has a history that includes religious traditions, celebrations, Irish immigration, and the rise of the Irish pride. St. Patrick's Day was originally celebrated in Ireland with religious services and feasts in honor of St. Patrick, one of Ireland's patron saints. When Irish immigration brought St. Patrick's Day traditions in the United States, the day evolved into secular celebrations of Irish culture, which we'll get into in a little bit. But St. Patrick's Day commemorates the arrival of Christianity in Ireland in the 5th century. It was made an official Christian feast day in the early 17th century, and Christians celebrate with church services all over the world today. Jumping back, we're going to go into some of the history of St. Patrick's Day and some of its significant days and little timelines so you can kind of get a bigger picture of what's going on. So in the 4th century, St. Patrick was born in the Roman Britain to wealthy parents, and then at 16 years old, St. Patrick was kidnapped by Irish raiders and taken to Ireland as a slave. That does not sound very fun at all. And then 6 years, St. Patrick worked as a shepherd in Ireland before escaping and returning to Britain. And then in 432 CE, St. Patrick returned to Ireland and converted the Irish to Christianity, but then he died on March 17th in 461, and then in 1601, the first St. Patrick's Day parade was held in St. Augustine, Florida, so he was commemorated on the 17th, and then in 1762, the Irish soldiers serving in the English military marched in New York City on March 17th for St. Patrick, and then in 1631, the Irish established a feast day honoring St. Patrick on March 17th. Going back to what we were talking about before, Irish immigration was brought to America, and the Irish soldiers brought the holiday to New York in 1762, and as Irish immigration increased in the 19th and 20th centuries, the holiday became more of a celebration for Irish pride, so more foods, more games, more traditions, and it started turning into not such a religious holiday, but more of a spiritual holiday, but then that eventually turned into binge drinking and all fun and games, which we'll get into in just a second. So some of these celebrations include parades, festivals, and wearing green attire or shamrocks, and it's known that if you're not wearing green, you have to be pinched. So make sure you're wearing green on St. Patrick's Day. And the practice of dyeing the river green started in Chicago in 1962, which basically they take the humongous river and they dye it green, and it looks like someone threw up in there. But you know, it's a tradition that keeps on going. And then there's other foods like corned beef and cabbage became a staple for the holiday because it was one of the best meals Irish Americans could afford back then because they didn't have a lot of money, and corned beef and cabbage was a hearty meal for them. But now this holiday is more turned into, like I said, binge drinking and something called the Borg, which are things in today's society that has evolved. Finally, St. Patrick's Day has turned into a massive drinking holiday which spans all the way from Thursday all the way through the weekend. And St. Patrick's Day is on a Monday this year, so I can imagine that there will be lots of fun events here. I know that bagpipes will be at Deer Park all day on Monday, as our president told me. But there's also something too at a lot of college campuses that are done, which is the Ginger Run. It's down here on Choate Street, and they close down the street, and it's insane, and there's so many people there, but it's so much fun. But honestly, I feel as time has went on, the importance and value of St. Patrick's Day has gone down, and no one really understands the history behind it. I didn't even really know the history behind it before I started watching this and reading this. So it's very interesting to see how a holiday with a rich culture has turned into just a binge drinking holiday, an excuse to get drunk, go out with your friends when there is a historical significance behind it. Thanks everyone for learning about St. Patrick's Day with me. Hopefully you have a fun and safe holiday, and remember, don't drink too much and be safe out there.
I will say I'm definitely guilty of preferring the chaos of St. Patty's to the historical significance. What can I say? I love the green vibes. Going along with the green theme, Wicked was one of the most successful movies in the past year, grossing a record-breaking $729 million. With award season during the past month, a lot of space is being held for all things surrounding the Wizard of Oz prequel.
So much to unpack.
So much to unpack.
You've seen Wicked, right?
I've never seen
No.
Wicked, guys. Like I hear a lot about it. It's everywhere. But like
I'm
never
holding
seen
space for you on that one.
it. Thank you so much.
Do you understand the meme?
No.
Okay.
Wait, doesn't like Cynthia say something?
Okay,
And
so
she
you know
sings
her
a song?
name.
Oh yeah, I know her. And then Ariana.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know that.
Okay, good. You have some type of information.
Yeah.
Some sort of understanding. It's like they did an interview and like Ariana held her finger like this, like Cynthia's finger. It's
Okay.
like, I don't know where it came from, but it was just like, yeah, holding space.
Yeah, it was something stupid,
Yeah.
but it ended
That's
up
not
being
the
a meme.
important part.
Yeah, so I didn't get a chance to watch this award ceremony, unfortunately, but I
Oscars?
know, the Oscars, I blinked on the name, thank you. But I do know that they won 2 awards, so that's good, but they were nominated for a lot.
Yeah.
And Anora, another movie that was nominated in a bunch of the categories, won, and there's been a lot of controversy. People are really upset by it, so I kind of want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on it too.
Yeah, I didn't see Anora. I know
Me
it's.
either.
I don't really know fully what it's about.
I know the actress Zoe. I'm not going to pronounce her last name because I'm going to say it wrong. And I believe she was in Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm pretty sure. So.
Oh yeah, the other green
Yeah.
character.
Yes, the other green character. That was weird. Okay.
What that we both
Said
just-
at the same
yeah,
time.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I know Cynthia was up for an EGOT,
Mm-hmm.
and she was snubbed They were saving it to the last category, I think, too.
They always do that. They always save the biggest categories for last, and then the person you want to win doesn't win, and then it's very
Yeah.
disappointing, and then you stayed up to 11 a.m. or 11 p.m.
Stayed up till 11 a.m.
11 p.m. on a school night before classes, and you're just regretting it because your person didn't win.
Yeah, my friend was like, they're saving it till the end. There's no way it's not her. And then it wasn't her.
Yeah, I saw someone say that too.
And it was crazy. I also didn't get to watch that because I was being a scholar baller, but
Yeah, me too.
it did win for cinematic and box office achievement.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that one because I know people were buying their tickets super far in advance. I remember I was
Yeah.
home for Thanksgiving break, and my mom tried to get tickets on a Monday for a Thursday, completely sold out. Couldn't get tickets anywhere. I had to wait until I got back from break with my friends, and they saw it with their parents, and I hadn't seen it yet, so we decided to stay in on a Friday night and we went to the movies. One of the best movies I've seen in a very long time, genuinely. I love musical movies when they're done right.
Yeah.
And they did a really good job, honestly.
Yeah.
Just everything, costuming, lighting, production, all across the board. It was amazing.
Absolutely agree. I saw it in theaters twice and cried multiple times, both times. The Oz Does Ballroom scene.
Yeah. it's really good.
Tearjerker! Oh my god, I was not okay. But there's a lot of talk that they're kind of saving some of the awards for the second part coming out,
Okay, I didn't know that.
which I don't really see that being a thing. It's like, if it's good, it's good.
Right,
Like,
right.
why wait until the second part? What do you guys think about that?
Would the second part like be
It's a two-parter.
okay?
Because it's based off of the Broadway show, which is 2 acts.
Okay.
So like Act 1 was movie 1, and then Act 2 is movie
Wicked
2.
for
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Because if not, the movie would have been like 6 hours.
Yeah.
And I don't love Wicked, but I don't think I could sit for 6 hours.
Yeah.
In a movie. Like Endgame, Avengers Endgame was long. Okay, that was 3 hours of my life sitting there. That was long. Avatar, the new Avatar, that was also really long. So, Wicked was about the same time as both of those.
Yeah, I don't know. I maybe could have done it if I was able to pause it in theaters.
Stop the music. They had an actual intermission.
Yeah,
15-minute intermission.
I feel like that would happen.
Go piss, girl.
If it's something like that long, especially with like Wicked.
Yeah. We're doing it again. Okay.
There's also a lot of political context
Yes.
in Wicked. It's really relevant. There's, the wizard has this whole facade of having a great power and ability, and then he's just a big fucking fraud.
Oh.
Trump!
Yeah. It's basically
Orange versus green!
the propaganda of the movie is kind of symbolic of what's happening in our world today. That's why this movie is such a huge significant part of what's going on and why there's like a political agenda being pushed. And some people don't like that controversy. Some people are just like, I just want to see Wicked. I just want to watch the movie. But I think that having the underlying tones of the political propaganda helps the storyline, and especially in what's going on today, it needs to be said. It needs
Yeah.
to be spoken. People need to hear this message.
I don't think people realize that the majority of musicals have some sort of social commentary.
100%, yes.
Social commentary, political commentary, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's never been just like, oh, I'm gonna dance now.
Yeah, I saw Moulin Rouge with my friend over winter break, same type of thing, like France, poverty, pushing that social norm, making like burlesque dancers and pushing that uncomfortability, but it's needed. It needs to be talked about. We can't shy away. Like all these topics that we've been talking about this entire show, we can't shy away from them.
Yeah, I mean, there's the saying, like, art is supposed to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's like,
That's such a good quote.
That is like I'm thinking about it. Like, whoa,
Yeah,
wait.
right?
No, but it's so true.
it's kind of giving, like, if you aren't upset, you aren't paying attention.
Right.
And this will make you pay attention.
If you're not having an emotional reaction, then you're not doing it right.
Yeah. Exactly.
There we go.
Oh.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like it was definitely snubbed.
Yeah.
I wanted it to win, so.
I do. And I know it's a fan favorite, but I genuinely do like this movie. And I'm really excited for part 2.
Yeah. You need to watch it
Okay.
right after the show.
I will.
Yeah,
But,
go home and go watch it.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for you guys tonight. Make sure to join us for our next episode, episode 4, on April 3rd. Until our next talk, have a safe St. Patrick's Day weekend and keep it real out there, Newark. Bye.